Good morning and welcome back to the woods. And as you've probably guessed, this video is a continuation from last week's video where I reviewed the first look at the Pathfinder Woodsmans Wedgie. Now plan is, this morning I'm going to get a fire going with this and I'm going to use a bow drill divot. I've got a set here which I made a few weeks back, and it's been here in the damp. So what I've done is I've left it out in the sun. Now I've been here about 20 minutes. I've left that out in the sun. I've left a nice pile of feather sticks, the really thin ones, which I've been attempting the 20 curls on to get it going. I got all the splits I made with this last week, and I got a nice big bundle of twigs. Now, I'm not holding out much hope for this bow drill to work. The main thing is I want to try this divot out and see if this thing is actually any good as a bow drill socket. If it doesn't work, I'll just use a ferro rod or something. That's not the point. The point is to see if this is any good. The intention was to come out, do everything from scratch, but the sun's out, it's a bit damp, and all the bugs are out. So I don't particularly want to get nibbled. I'm going to do this first. And then after my fire's going and I get a cup of tea down me, I'm going to use this as it's meant to be used, in conjunction with a saw and a knife. I'm going to make a batten and process some wood, and that's basically how it's meant to be used. On with the fire lighting. Not quite sure if I got a call. I think it needs a bit more dust, but it flung out. I think that's a bit shallow. It went out. Well, what a shame. I think I put it down to a bit of dampness in the feather sticks there. That's my excuse, I'm sticking to it. Well, nobody's perfect, let's face it. I think the problem was when I got my foot off the bow drill set, half the coal fell out. So I was basically dealing with half a coal and trying to grow it in the dust, which wasn't taking very well. So when I put it in the tinder bundle, the feather sticks, it just all came apart, it didn't stay together. It wasn't feather sticks, the feather sticks were dry. That's what happened. But hey, you know, nobody's perfect. That's a good set. I could easily get another coal out of that if I wanted. On with a cup of tea. As you can see, I put the handle on, same handle from last week, no point cutting another one. My thoughts on using this as a bow drill socket worked well. It wasn't uncomfortable to hold, but I do think them divots need to be a bit deeper. I slipped out twice. The fire lighting was my fault, basically, because I dropped half the coal. In fact, I think I'm going to show you the half I dropped. Right by there. I'm going off now to cut a section of wood to make my batten and to chop up a bit. I'm going to do it on the sawhorse because it's easier to film basically, but doing it in situ would be easy enough. I just need to cut one extra round to prop it up, and that's all really. So it's a lot easier for me to film back here at camp. Now ideally I'd like a thicker piece, but this is going to have to do. I'd like to have added about that big, but this was available and I'm not cutting one down just to do this. So first things first, I need to cut a ring with the saw around and go so deep. So I leave that section in. Now doing this in the past, I've noticed something. When you cut straight down and you go to split a chunk off, if you cut that chunk too thick, it jams. So what I'm going to do is nibble it off. and then you've got a bit of kindling while you're at it. I'd normally do this with a knife and another batten, but because I've got a handle on the wedgie, I'm going to attempt it with that, tapping it. Well, as you can see, that's not very accurate. So I'm going to get my old batten, just pretend it's a log from the floor. Well, that was pretty easy. It's a bit rough. This thing ain't meant for cutting. But this is. Well, that's about right. Now, this is a hell of a lot easier to do when you leave it in one piece and then cut it off, rather than cutting it that size. Try to hold it, saw it. Easier to leave it big. So I always do. Now there's a few knots here, and they're to my advantage. So I'm going to cut past the knots. Knots. Obviously, the longer you leave it, the more weight it's got to do its magic. So there's my batten, or baton. Just needs the bark off now. Take that off with a knife, and I'm going to cut some rounds up out of this. And if anybody's wondering, that is my favourite saw, the Silky Big Boy medium teeth straight. Love that saw. So there's 3 rounds, a batten, and what came off the handle, plenty to light the fire with. Textbook. Now I have 3 rounds cut and my batten is made. I'm going to do a bit of splitting, but I'm only going to split one up, and there's a reason for that, because I want to prove a point. The point I want to prove is a tiny little axe like this, that if you're like me and you're in the UK or in Europe, to buy that wedgie, it's probably going to cost you about £75 with import duties and postage. For another 25, you can buy one of these. So one round, I'm going to split with the wedgie. One round I'm going to split with this. This isn't brilliant without the batton, mine, I'll be honest with you. And I'm going to cut one round with a bushcraft knife. Bush tool, well built by me obviously, and this is strong enough to go through a log. So I'm going to batten one with each tool and basically prove a point that the wedgie, especially if you're over here and the amount it's going to cost you to get to one, is probably a waste of time. No, you can't do this with a wedgie. Or this. Knife. Have I proved a point here? Yes, I proved a point, and the point is A good knife is your best friend. In a nutshell, everything you can do with a wedgie, you can do with a decent, strong, utility bushcraft size knife. Or a tiny little axe. The maddening thing is, I like the little thing. I like the tool. It's just, you don't need it. You know, if you can batten down something like that with ease with a knife, then why would you bother carrying it? Different if you're going to carry a Swiss Army knife or a little lock knife, which you can't batten anything with. But let's face it, guys like us, we go to the woods because we enjoy it. If we go on a trip, we make damn sure we take something that can do the job. Textbook use this time, and it works well. There's nothing else I can say. It works well. It's just, it needs a saw and it needs a knife. Right. Thanks for watching. Thumbs up is always appreciated. Please feel free to leave a comment. I try and answer most of them if I can. And I'll see you next time. Probably just get away without a decent sized knife, but oh come on, who wants to go in the woods and not carry a tidy knife? Not me, that's a fact. Well, that's the end of this video, and I like the Woodsmans Wedgie, but there's just no point in it. No point at all. And the thing is, the bow drill divot, I think was just, I watched Dave's video and he did batten a sizable round down with it, but it was bone dry. I think it even had a bit of rot in it, and basically about any axe would have gone through that with ease. So there wasn't much point in it. It's a nice little gimmick, it's a good little idea, it's just not for me. And probably you guys, probably like me, middle-aged men with, I know there's a few ladies watch me, mind, middle-aged men with disposable income, and you can afford a nice little axe. Hell, for the price of that thing, you could buy a motor knife, an axe, a cheap axe and a cheap saw. It's a gadget. It's a nice little gadget, but it's not for me. It's not something I would substitute an axe for. Well, I'm going to go and cut a round now with the saw to make the baton, or batten, whatever you want to call it. I'm starting to talk in an American accent. I'm going to cut a baton. No, we'll scrap that, start again.